It is my privilege and honor to introduce you all to Shohaku Okumura Roshi. Okumura Roshi is a SotoZen priest and Dharma successor of Kosho Uchiyama Roshi. He is a graduate of Komazawa University and has practiced in Japan at Antaiji, Zuioji, and the Kyoto Soto Zen Center, and in Massachusetts at the Pioneer Valley Zendo. He is the former director of the SotoZen Buddhist International Center in San Francisco. His previously published books of translation include Shobogenzo Zuimonki Dogen Zen, Zen Teachings of Homeless Kodo, and Opening the Hand of Thought. Okumura is also editor of Dogen Zen and its relevance for our time, and SotoZen. He is the founding teacher of the Sanshin Zen Community based in Bloomington, Indiana, where he lives with his family. Okumura Roshi, we welcome you.
You can see better. She doesn't travel a lot anymore, even the more reason to be able to see him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would everyone please silence your microphones? Thank you.
Can I talk? Start to talk. No chanting?
I guess there's no chanting. I think there's no chanting.
Good morning, everyone. I understand this is the final event of your 5-day retreat. And here at Sanshin, we have Sangha members. So this morning I talked to the retreat participant and Sanshin Sangha members. On Sunday mornings, I have been talking on this text, Opening the Hand of Thought. This is my teacher, Kosho Uchiyama Roshi's book, and I'm one of the translators of this book. I have been talking on this book since 2006, and so far in my record, this is the 254th talk. Anyway, now I have been talking very slowly, almost paragraph by paragraph. That's why I gave so many talks. Now I'm talking on the final chapter of this book, chapter 8. The title of this chapter is The Way Seeker. And this is based on the transcription of Uchiyama Roshi's final lecture, final teisho at Antaiji. That was, I think, February 23rd in 1975. So next year, it will have a 50th anniversary of this talk, or Uchiyama Roshi's retirement. On this occasion, he talks about 7 points of practice he kept in his mind while he was the abbot at Antaiji. And these 7 points are as follows. let me read these 7. 7 points of practice. If you have this text, this is page 139. First is study and practice. Study and practice the Buddha Dharma only for the sake of the Buddha Dharma, not for the sake of emotions or worldly ideas. 2. Zazen is our truest and most venerable teacher. 3. Zazen must work concretely in our daily lives as the 2 practices, vow and repentance. The 3 minds, magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, and joyful mind. And as a realization of the saying, gaining is delusion, losing is enlightenment. 4. Live by vow and root it deeply. 5. Realizing that development and backsliding are your responsibility alone. Endeavor to practice and develop. 6. Sit silently for 10 years, then for 10 more years, and then for another 10 years. 7. Cooperate with one another and aim to create a place where sincere practitioners can practice without trouble. These are the 7 points of practice at Antaiji, Uchiyama Roshi kept in his mind. And he talked on this point when he retired from Antaiji, because he wanted to transmit this point to his disciples. And I was one of them. Now I'm 56 years old, so in 75 I was at 26. So to me, this point is a kind of his will to us. So after that, I have been trying to follow these 7 points. In this year 75, Uchiyama Roshi left Antaiji next to the day he gave these lectures. And shortly after that, I left Antaiji also and went to Zuioji and practiced there for half a year. And I came to the United States in the same year in December. So I have been here. That is strange, 50 years. So last 50 years, I have been trying to practice following these 7 points. And at Valley Zendo in Massachusetts, we translated these 7 points and put it in the frame and put by the entrance of the Zendo. So people who came to practice with us was interested what Uchiyama Roshi actually talked about these 7 points. So that was, I think, about 1980. I translated this lecture for the people practicing with us at the Valley Zendo. So I made the first draft of this translation around 80, that is more than 40 years ago. And when we made this book, Opening the Hand of Thought, I and Tom Wright, Daitu Tom Wright, retranslated. So this lecture is very kind of important to me. That has been my kind of teacher instead of actual person. And now I have been talking about the number 3, about Zazen must work concretely in our daily lives as the 2 practices, vow and repentance, and 3 mind, magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, and joyful mind. And as a realization of the saying, gaining is delusion, losing is enlightenment. And I have been talking about, Zazen and 2 practices, that is a vow and repentance. So this morning, I'd like to talk about last one, that is 3 mind. If we have this text in page 158, I'm sorry, that is in the screen, that is opposite. So maybe you cannot read. Anyway, he said, 1 Zazen, 2 practices, 3 minds. Those are translation, Ichiza, Nigyo, and Sanshin. Ichi is 1, and Ni is 2, and 3, San is 3. And Za is sitting, 1 sitting. Ichiza, and 2 practices, means practice of vow and repentance. And I have been talking about Zazen and 2 practices, vow and repentance. So today I'm going to talk about 3 minds, or Sanshin. As you know, Sanshin is the name of this temple and also this community. So Sanshin is always together with other 2. So Sanshin Zen Community or Sanshinji means people who gather to practice Zazen and take a vow and practice repentance. And as a daily practice, we try to work with those 3 minds. That is the meaning of the name of this temple and this community. Usually temple name or name of the Zen Center is following the place, name of the place, like San Francisco Zen Center or Minnesota Zen Meditation Center. But when we establish Sanshin Zen Community, we don't have community. And we don't have temple. Only 4 people get together and incorporate Sanshin Zen Community. So there's no place. That was 96, after I completed 3 years term of as a head teacher of MZMC. So when I create this community, I choose this word Sanshin as a name of the community, also the name of what we do within this community. And those Sanshin, or 3, Sanshin is 3 minds. I use the Japanese word Sanshin because I don't like minds. In English, it has to be plural. But to me, Sanshin is 1 mind. It's 3 names of 1 mind. So I don't want it to call this community as Sanshin's 3 minds. That's why I named Sanshin. It's 3, but so this is like a 3 aspect of 1 mind. Anyway, kind of challenging to me today because I'm going to talk about 3 pages. You know, usually I talk about paragraph by paragraph, but Uchiyama Roshi talks about 3 minds in 3 pages. So I have to talk about 3 pages. So I cannot talk, you know, in detail, but I pick up important point. What Uchiyama Roshi said, actually he didn't say much about Sanshin or 3 minds, because people who practice at Antaiji and also come to listen to his lectures know what Sanshin is very well, because he often talks. And Sanshin is originally from Dogen Zen Tenzo Kyokun. Tenzo Kyokun is instructions for the monastic cook. And Uchiyama Roshi wrote his commentary on Tenzo Kyokun, and it was translated by Tom Wright, a friend of mine, or my Dharma brother. And Uchiyama Roshi's commentary on Tenzo Kyokun is this book, From the Zen Kitchen to Enlightenment. And the subtitle is Refining Your Life. This entire book is Uchiyama Roshi's teaching about the 3 minds. So if you want to understand more what Uchiyama Roshi taught about 3 minds, please read this book. So now I start to talk on the paragraphs. Next paragraph, he says, anyway, the 3 minds, Sanshin, that is magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, and joyful mind. These are the Sanshin. In Japanese, ki, shin, ro, shin, and dai, shin. Dogen, in Tenzo Kyokun, Dogen Zenji wrote this order: joyful mind, nurturing mind, and big mind or magnanimous mind. But Uchiyama Roshi always talk the opposite order: Daishin, Roshin, and Kishin. Magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, and joyful mind. So I also talk from Daishin, big mind, big or magnanimous. Anyway, he said, anyway, the 3 minds, magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, Roshin, and joyful mind, describe the way in which as individual personal selves, we should function to reveal our original universal self. So he start to talk about 2 selves. And if you have been listening my talk, you already know what are these, but these 2 selves. First one is individual personal selves. This is a translation of Seirai no Jibun. And next one, to repeat, original universal self is Honrai no Jiko. Seirai no Jibun and Hondai. no jiko. Jibun, both jibun and jiko are self. But in the case of jibun, Uchiyama Roshi used this word self as an individual kind of a karmic person. In my case, named Shohaku, who was born in Japan and somehow started to practice Zazen and taught and studied Dogen's teaching and became a SotoZen priest and somehow became Uchiyama Roshi's disciple and came to this country, and therefore I have to talk in English. It's a bad karma. It's really a bad karma to me. That is my personal self. That is my karma after I was born. But in the case of Jiko, and Hondai means original. So he used these two words to show the self. And this to make the clear distinction between these two are important. This is based on his understanding, Uchiyama Roshi's understanding of what is self. Not only Uchiyama Roshi, but this is about the idea of the self in Mahayana Buddhism. I wrote a book entitled Structure of the Self. In that book, I talked about another one. So there are three perspectives of the self in Mahayana Buddhism. The first one is karmic self, and we are always self-centered, ego-centered self. And original self is together with all beings. We are living together with all beings. There's no separation. And the second one is no self, or empty self as emptiness. That is what Shakyamuni Buddha taught. There's no self. That means no Atman. Commonly, we think we are an individual person, but this individual person is simply a collection of all different elements as 5 aggregates or 5 skandhas. Beside those 5 elements, there's no such self, either jibun or jiko. So self is one individual person, but this one individual person is actually zero because it's empty. This is only a kind of a collection of all different elements throughout space and time. That is what muga, or no self, means in Buddhist teaching. And this original self is, I always draw a circle, and this is Indra's net. And we are like a knot of the thread. Without all different kind of thread, collection of, what do you call a knot. There's no fixed entity as self. That is what emptiness means. And this is Mahayana teaching, because there's no individuality, no self. We are all of us, not only human beings, but all beings are connected with all beings throughout space and time. So because we are empty, this entire interconnection is the self. So this in my expression, network of interdependent origination, this entirety is myself. It's me. Without this entirety of network of interdependent origination, there's no self. So there are three aspects of the self. And Uchiyama Roshi always talk about Buddha Dharma on the basis of this kind of a structure of the self. And this is what Buddha Dharma means in Dogen's teaching. You know, Dogen Zenji talks in Genjo Koan, he said, to study Buddha Dharma is to study the self. So to study how self are existing as one individual person, and that is empty, and also it's interconnected with all beings. So in that sense, you know, this entirety of interconnection throughout space and time is the self. That is what original self means. Or another translation, another English expression we use is universal self. So there are three aspects of the self. One is individual karmic person. And this karmic person is empty. That is zero. Because this is zero, because of zero. You know, we are one with all beings throughout space and time. That is, in my understanding, that is a structure of the self in Mahayana Buddhism. And what we do in our Zazen, when Uchiyama Roshi talks about one sitting, it's the means when we sit, all three aspects are there. Because in our mind, our thinking is very individual. Karmic consciousness creates who I am. So I can, because of my karma, I can think only in Japanese language. And I have to translate into English. That is my karma. So karmic self is there, even when we are sitting facing the wall in the Zendo. All different kind of thoughts are coming and going. All those thoughts are made with our karmic consciousness as individual person. But what we do while we are sitting facing the wall is opening the hand of thought. That is the meaning of this book, and the title of this book. That means we don't grasp anything. We open our hand. So thoughts are coming and going, but I don't think. Because I don't think, I don't take any action based on those karmic consciousness. So during Zazen, in our Zazen, we are free from this individuality. But all different kind of karmic thinking is there, coming and going, but we don't grasp. In this sitting with thing of thought or opening the hand of thought, we simply become part of this interconnection. So all three aspects of the self is there in our Zazen. And based on this structure of the self, he talks about two practices, vow and repentance. Vow is when we see or we understand we are together with all beings within the network of interdependent origination. even though we are still self-centered, we understand we should not be so selfish, so self-centered, so egoistic. So to live as a universal self become our vow, our practice of vow as an individual person. But when we see from opposite way, even though we are universal self, our thinking and our action is still selfish, so it's still self-centered. And even try not to be self-centered, our practice is limited, very incomplete. That is why that is the reason we need to practice repentance. So vow and repentance, bodhisattva vow. In order to become a Buddhist, Mahayana Buddhist, we receive Buddhist bodhisattva precept, and we take bodhisattva vows. That are these vows to reveal true reality of ourselves as one with all beings, and yet our practice is always incomplete. Therefore, we need to make repentance. That is the meaning of one sitting to practices of vow and repentance. And these three minds, Sanshin, is how we can take actions as a practice of bodhisattva vow. Even though it's limited, still we try to do this. That is, as I wrote already, those three minds. Big Daishin, Roshin, and Kishin. Joyful and nurturing or parental mind. Dogen Zen said, Roshin is a mind of parents, and Daishin. And Daishin, I think these three minds are a kind of opposition of three poisonous minds. That is, a joyful mind is the opposition of anger and hatred. And the nurturing mind, or mind of parent, is opposition of greedy mind, greed. Greed means I want to make everything my personal possession. But parental mind or nurturing mind is to offer help or kind of like giving help to others. So nurturing mind is a kind of a medicine to heal the problem we create with greedy mind. Everything, to make everything my possession, or I want to get that thing. That thing might be material things, or like fame or profit. All those things are greedy mind. And I think Daishin, big mind, or magnanimous mind, is opposition of ignorance. So Daishin is a wisdom. It's kind of difficult to understand why Daishin can be wisdom. So I think these two are not so difficult to understand. So today I mainly talk about a big mind or magnanimous mind. Why magnanimous mind is wisdom. That is opposition or medicine to heal the problem caused by ignorance. And in three poisonous mind, ignorance is based of greediness and anger and hatred. So if we become free from ignorance, we can be free from greed and anger. Then we can act based on joyful mind and magnanimous mind. Nurturing mind. Nurturing mind or parental mind is a mind to make offering, to take care of other people and other beings. So first I'd like to talk about Roshin and Kishin in here. Shohaku Uchiyama Roshi said, and I return to Daishin. So basically, in this paragraph, he said, these three minds describe the way in which an individual personal self, a karmic self, we should function to reveal our original self. How can we reveal the interconnectedness within this self-centered self? That is the point of three minds. And first he said Daishin, but I return to Daishin later. He didn't talk much about nurturing mind and joyful mind. In the next page, bottom of page 159, he said, as a natural growth of the attitude that whatever I encounter is nothing but myself, I take great care of myself. This myself is my universal self. So not only these five skandhas. This is the approach toward everything that is called nurturing mind. So that is a nurturing mind in this talk. And about joyful mind, he said, this is a mind that sympathizes with everything. This is still a nurturing mind. This is a mind that sympathizes with everything, that penetrates into everything, not for itself, but for others. So this is the mind to make offering to others, or to other people, or other things, or to entirety of a society, or a community, or this nature. And he said, as a natural extension, we need to find the real meaning of our life. Real meaning of life is not to make this individual karmic self strong or powerful or rich, but to make offering to others. So our life spirit into that attitude and effort. To find our life worth living isn't the same thing as just feeling a constant emotional happiness. So this is not joy or happiness in our common emotional experiences. But when we work together with others to help and also to make this network even a little bit better, we can find, even it is difficult, still we can find the joy within these activities. The life spirit that meets everything with a nurturing mind nurturing mind, the mind of offering, is joyful mind. So I return to big mind or magnanimous mind. Why magnanimous mind is wisdom or opposition of ignorance. About a magnanimous mind, Uchiyama Roshi said in this book, the bottom of page 158. I have already described magnanimous mind as the act of opening the hand of thought. So not cling to our personal thinking. Ego-centered thinking is magnanimous mind. That means our Zazen is itself magnanimous mind. Opening the hand of thought and refraining from any comparison or discrimination. So magnanimous mind is go beyond any comparison or discrimination. For example, the word big is dai. The word big, which is written in Japanese, so daishin is, this dai literally means big, mind. With the same character as the magnanimous of magnanimous mind doesn't imply bigger than something else. So this dai does not mean something bigger than others. Anything only relatively big isn't really big, no matter what size it is. So whether something is big or small in comparison is not really big. That means this is bigger than this thing, but this is smaller than much larger things. So there's no fixed way we can say whether one thing is big or small, because it's only in comparison. But Uchiyama Roshi and Dogen Zen also talk about daishin beyond comparison. In Tenzo Kyokun, Dogen Zen said, magnanimous mind or big mind is a mind like a mountain, huge mountain, and a great ocean. So mountain is immovable. It doesn't shaky. It doesn't move. And mountain allow all different plants and animals and much smaller micro organisms. The mountain allow all of them being there without making discrimination. You know, there are huge trees and tiny grasses and much smaller living beings. And not only living beings, but all other beings are included within the mountain. So mountain is immovable. And ocean, great ocean, accept everything. All different kind of water from all different kind of rivers. Whichever water came from whichever river, accept them and make all waters into one ocean. So mountain refer to immovable, and great ocean refer to become one. Accept everything and make them part of it. That is big or magnanimous in terms, not as a comparison. And this is a very important point when we think of Mahayana wisdom. Let's see. For example, in the Lotus Sutra, Lotus Sutra, there is a Shojo, smaller vehicle, and Daijo. Daijo Mahayana is large vehicle. And in the early history of early Mahayana, Mahayana Buddhism is criticized Hinayana, or smaller vehicles. For example, like Sutra of Vimalakirti Sutra. Those arhats, Buddha's disciples, were looked down by bodhisattvas. Vimalakirti was a lay person, not even a monk, but he was a lay bodhisattva. And yet, Vimalakirti has a much clear and absolute understanding of Dharma. So, arhats like Shariputra was like a kids in comparison with Vimalakirti. So in that sutra, it's considered Mahayana is much larger than smaller vehicle. So this is, in comparison, Mahayana is larger than Hinayana. But later, I think Lotus Sutra is later than Vimalakirti. The Lotus Sutra said their teaching is beyond this comparison between Hinayana and Mahayana. And they called their teaching as Ichibutsujo, one Buddha vehicle. These are called three vehicles: Shurabaka, Prateka Buddha, and Bodhisattvas. And Mahayana people think they are larger than smaller vehicles. But in the Lotus Sutra, this Ichibutsujo, one Buddha vehicle, that is in Sanskrit, that is Ekayana. Only one vehicle means this one vehicle includes all three vehicles. So in the Lotus Sutra, they think this is real Daijo, absolute Dai, absolutely great. It's not relatively larger than Hinayana, but this is absolutely Dai, or great, or large, because this is absolutely large. These include all those three vehicles. So this one Ekayana and three yanas are not, how can I say, in comparison. That is what large in absolute meaning. And this Daishin, magnanimous mind or big mind, refer to this Daijo, this Mahayana. This Mahayana is not relatively larger than smaller vehicles, but this largest absolute Daijo Mahayana include all of them. So in Mahayana Buddhist teaching system, they kind of make discrimination. So, Buddhist scholars make discrimination. This is smaller Mahayana. This is real Mahayana. So they create another kind of comparison. That is a problem. So as far as we are using words or concept as small or large, whichever goal we create comparison and become relative. That is important point when we talk about Daishin. For example, in the Vimalakirti Sutra, Vimalakirti and Bodhisattvas, including Manjushri, discussed about non-duality. And other Bodhisattvas think that talked about difference between duality and beyond duality, or discrimination and beyond discrimination. And they think these are small, and non-duality or oneness, non-duality is large or absolute. So we need to go beyond such relativity. And there are many kind of relativity, good, bad, right, wrong, and all different kind of relativities. So they said they have to go beyond such relativity and enter oneness or absolute reality. And so many bodhisattvas said these are relativity and or duality. We have to go beyond such duality and enter oneness or non-duality. Then Manjushri said, what all you said is correct, and yet by saying so, you create another duality, that is relativity and absolute reality. So Manjushri said we have to stop thinking, stop using words, stop thinking conceptual, using conceptions. That is non-duality. That is what Manjushri said. So to enter non-duality or not to non-duality, we have to stop using words and thinking. That is what Manjushri said, using words. So Manjushri is still within this, kind of a structure. Duality and non-duality are dualistic. Then Manjushri asked Vimalakirti, what do you think? What is your opinion about non-duality? Then Vimalakirti didn't say anything, because even when what Manjushri said is duality. So to express non-duality, we have to keep silence. That is what non-duality or absoluteness in Vimalakirti said. Not said, he didn't, he expressed without saying, without using any word. But the teaching of Vimalakirti is still here. Because duality, non-duality is bigger than duality. And in order to express non-duality, we have to stop talking, and stop thinking. But Dogen didn't like Vimalakirti. Not like, but he said the teaching in Vimalakirti is still dualistic. So what is the real non-duality? Is opening the hand of thought. That means not negation of duality. When we negate duality in order to enter non-duality, Vimalakirti again create duality between discrimination and non-discrimination. So what Dogen wants to say is non-discrimination needs to include discrimination. So in our Zazen is not stop thinking. Our thinking is always duality, but we just open our hand. So our dualistic thinking is coming and going, and yet we don't grasp. So dualistic thinking is not negated or eliminated, but we don't think. That this Zazen is itself wisdom. This non-duality doesn't negate duality. So in that sense, our Zazen is itself wisdom. When we think Zazen is wisdom, it's already our thinking. So as far as we are thinking, it's dualistic. But if we negate thinking, then again we make another duality. So how can we really become free from dualistic or relativity and enter absoluteness? Is Dogen's answer is do nothing. That do nothing means even try not to negate duality. So duality and non-duality are both there. That is what Dogen meant. This great mind or magnanimous mind is itself wisdom. For example, it's already 11:40. In Tenzo Kyokun, let's see. Dogen wrote, so this is an introduction to the cook, the Tenzo, who is working in the kitchen. When Tenzo work in the kitchen, he said, being harmonious and pure like this, do not lose either the eye of oneness or the eye that discerns differences. Either the eye of oneness means eye which sees absolute non-duality, and yet we should not lose the eye that discerns differences. So these oneness and eye discerned difference is in Japanese or Chinese is ichigen. and ryogen. Gen is eye. So ichigen means one eye, and ryogen is two eyes, or eyes which sees oneness, and eyes which sees differences. So as a Tenzo, we need to both absolute eye and also the eye which can make distinctions. Whether, when we cook something and to make some dishes, we have to think how I should cut the vegetables in this way or that way, or what is the best way to cook using certain ingredient into certain dishes. In order to work concretely, we need eye which can see differences, and we have to make choice what is the best way. And eye which is oneness means whatever food we eat, somehow all those whether it's delicious food or not so delicious food, both can support our practice. Our practice is Buddha's practice. So whether it's a plain vegetables or very delicious or special ingredient, often expensive, still they are the same. So the eye of discrimination and the eye of non-discrimination should be there. So within this one big or magnanimous mind, we need to keep both. That is why I think Dogen, actually this is not Dogen Zenji, but it's my understanding of what Dogen is talking. Dogen and Uchiyama Roshi is talking about magnanimous mind. So magnanimous mind is wisdom. That is, can be a medicine for ignorance. And those three poisonous mind, ignorance and greed and anger, create our life into samsara. So these three minds, joyful mind, nurturing mind, mind of offering, and mind embrace everything, is a kind of a medicine to heal, to cure the problems or sickness made by three poisonous mind. I think that is my understanding of what Uchiyama Roshi and Dogen said about three minds. So three mind is very essential, important teaching in entire Mahayana, not only Mahayana, entire Buddhist teachings, I think. Well, it's already 11:45. As usual, I talk too much. If you have question or comment, please give me.
So we'll start with people in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. American. Very fun.
We do have one hand raised online with Yuya Minog.
No. Roshi.
Now, should I?
We're unmuting Kuya.
Okay, here, I'm here. Hello, everyone. It's lovely
Hello.
to see you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Shohaku
Hi.
Sama, thank you. I sat rohats with you in your temple just outside of Kyoto in 1989.
Yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just wanted you to know that I'm now a resident priest, a black robe resident priest, ordained by Zenku, who is also online with us.
Oh, great.
And I'm now resident priest in a small rural temple in south central British Columbia. The temple is called Sakuraji.
Oh, good. I'm glad you continue practice.
Yes, so the seeds that we planted in our practice at Rohats 35 years ago are finally beginning to blossom. Like, oh joy, I offer my life beyond confusion. Yeah. So it's really wonderful to realize that practice is enlightenment, moment by moment.
Yeah.
So thank you very much
Thank you
for
very much.
the seeds.
So you don't have a question. Good.
So John Hinman, please keep your gallery view and call on those who are raising their hands. I will take care of those in the Zendo here. Keiko-san, do you have anything? Please step forward and camera. Keiko-san, we take turns to go online into the temple. This is Keiko-san.
Well, thank you very much for your talk. My name is Keiko. I'm from Japan and I studied in a small group led by Gudo Wafu Nishijima, who translated Shobogenzo. And yes, and your talk was very good to know that we don't have to talk.
Good.
And it seemed, this is a different question, but as Japanese, I wonder, is it a good thing that Japanese would be in the United States and more Japanese come? Like you can explain the Japanese nuance of Buddhism. And do you think it would be a good thing that there will be more people like that? Or do you think American people are already good to spread the essence of Buddhism?
I think we need both.
Both. I see.
Buddhism has been transmitted from India to China and China to other East Asian countries, and it reached to the West. And in the process of this transmission, there were differences. They made differences. So Chinese Buddhism became Chinese. It's different from Indian Buddhism. And Japanese Buddhism is different from Chinese Buddhism. So for American people or Western people, they need to create American or Western version of Buddhism. But better not to take so hastily. Better to take times. That means, after Buddhism was transmitted from India to China, until Chinese people made real Chinese Buddhism as a Chinese culture. It took them about 500 years. And in Japan, Buddhism was transmitted from Korea in the 6th century, and Dogen was in the 13th century. So there are 700 years. That Dogen's time, 13th century, was when Buddhism really became a part of Japanese culture. Japanese people express their spirituality through Buddhism. So it takes a lot of time to make some kind of a spirituality or spiritual tradition from outside and make it their own. To do so, we need to study, we need patience, and study a lot from various perspectives. Of course, today, because of the development of communication among different countries, so maybe it doesn't take so long as several hundred years, but still, American American people started to practice Zen a little more than 50 years ago, or half a century years ago. It takes, I think, more time to do so. We need, I think, American Buddhism or Western Buddhism need to study more from Asian Buddhism, including Japanese. So we need both, American people develop American Buddhism, and yet communication or relation with Asian Buddhism, to not to make it too strange, too twisted.
Patience.
So it's very important to, some Japanese monk or priest came to practice with Western people. And it's also important for Japanese priests or monks to study how Western people study and practice Zen or Buddhism, and what is the significance or meaning of study and practicing Buddhism or Zen in modern society. Then, in Japan, Buddhism is not so, how can I say, strong anymore. So even in Japan, Japanese people need to, how can I say, to make change. Traditional Buddhism doesn't work anymore.
Japanese people are westernized too.
Yeah, too much westernized.
Yes, yes.
So
The Meiji Ishin and World War II,
yeah,
we lost a lot of good religious backbone. Yes. Thank you
yes,
so much.
yeah.
I shall try to be more Japanese.
Please.
That's going to be. Well, John, I see Sungak online. John
I
Hammond.
noted Zenku first, and then I noted Sangaku second.
All right.
Okumura Roshi, so good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us today and talking with us. We've been having a very nice retreat. This is the culmination, as you mentioned, and we've been looking at, Kodo Uchiyama, and having a very good time getting to know them better is the way I like to look at it. And your book, the book that came out, which was, Homeless Kodo, the Zen teachings of Homeless Kodo, I went through that a bit, and all year we've been studying various publications that you have largely been involved in around your lineage. And I'm just wondering, what would you like to say about your teacher, Uchiyama Roshi, maybe even Kodo Sawaki, that you might want to share with us, as kind of a culmination of our week?
Well, what I talked this morning include both Sawakiroshi's teaching and Uchiyama Roshi's teaching. And that, to me, that is the essence or essential part of their teachings. The number 3 of the 7 point of practice, the first, the number 3 I talked this morning. First, Uchiyama Roshi said, losing is enlightenment and gaining is delusion. That is Sawakiroshi's teaching. Nothing is good for nothing is another teaching of Sakiroshi. And gaining is delusion, and losing is enlightenment is also Sakiroshi's teaching. And this teaching came from, of course, Dogen's teaching of practice without gaining mind, or even from the Heart Sutra. Mushotok, no gaining. Of course, there is no gaining and no losing. We don't lose anything. But because we have a strong tendency of gain something. So as a practical teaching, Sakiroshi had to say, losing is enlightenment and gaining is delusion. So I think what I talked this morning is the essence of both Sakiroshi and Uchiyama Roshi's teaching and practice. Does this make sense?
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much. It does indeed. Yes. No, very good to see you again today.
Yeah. Nice seeing you.
Well, Joe, do you have someone at your location?
We do. Darren, please look forward a little bit.
Shohaku Okumura Roshi.
Thank you.
Question. In your teaching today about the three mind, the magnanimous mind, the nurturing mind, and the joyful mind, can they be seen as nurturing each other? In other words, as being not one, not three, but both one and three, and such that when keeping one, you realize the others.
Yeah.
In the magnanimous mind, overreaching all of the others and surrounding the nurturing which takes place with the self and also with all other things as the self, and then realizing the joyful state that all that brings. Is this can be seen as that type of thinking?
I think so. That is what I meant when I said I don't like using English translation, three minds. But Sanshin is actually one mind.
Thank you, Roshi.
Okay, thank you for listening.
I've still got Sangaku noted next. I haven't noted anyone else. If you have a question, please put up a digital hand or raise your hand, and I'll get you recognized. Sangaku, thank you.
Thank you, John. Okumura Roshi. My Dharma name is Sangak. I am in Falmouth, Massachusetts, your favorite American state. Last night, we not only studied you, but we studied your daughter in film Sit.
Really?
So my question to you, as we talk about the non-verbal way of demonstrating Zen in everyday life, I thought that 12-minute documentary was an excellent exposure to those who have not seen, followed, and involved in Zen about Zen in everyday life, how it works. I noted that 70% of your performance in that documentary was silent. Only 30% was talking. So what do you say about that film as something to be shared relative to Zen in everyday life for the in a practical way?
Well, you know, I couldn't hide anything from my daughter. So I have no way to hide myself. So let's see. You know, I talked this today. I talked about 1.5 hours about not to talk. This is a problem. I think from Shakyamuni Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha had the same problem. You know, when he attained awakening, he didn't want to teach others because he thought it's too difficult to share and explain what he awakened to. So he stayed at one place by himself for several weeks before he stood up and went to Deer Park to teach those 5 monks. I think those during those several weeks, in a sense, I think, in a sense, he was translating his experience, awakening experience, into language. So I think Shakyamuni Buddha had the same problem. He had to speak about something which is not speakable, but somehow he did. That's why his teaching remained until today. And when we studied Buddhism, first we studied the language, you know, remembered by his students. So we have to translate our knowledge we studied into our practice. So it's a kind of a opposite process of what Shakyamuni Buddha did. That is the importance of our practice. So just studying what Buddha taught as a record or text doesn't make so much sense to me. So we need both. If we just sit without saying anything, no one could understand. So we have to say something, and yet this teaching or speaking is about speaking. Just speaking is not enough. That is why Buddhist teaching is almost always kind of what is the word? Paradoxical, yes. Okay.
We have another.
Kosho.
Please introduce yourself. We have another comment here, a question.
Okumura-san,
Hi.
I've just returned from Tenryuji, Kyoto, and I feel now my mind is very big, my body is very small, and I hear the wisdom here. How can I, as an American, help bring the Japanese wisdom to my world here?
Well, continue to practice in America with American people. And then people studied from your practice and teaching and what you say. Of course, better, it's also a good thing you go to Japan again to stay longer period of time. And you learn Japanese language to study Buddhism. We need American people who can read Dogen without translation.
ありがとうございます。
Hi, thank you.
Over to you, John.
Online, I've noted Ishiryo has a hand up.
Thank you for your wonderful teaching. It is a great treat to hear Zen from Japan, and not the most original, well, in the very original Japanese manner. And I took your words on bringing this to America. How will we make it American? You used the word karma, which we throw around a lot, and you used it in two ways, which were, they got me thinking. And the first was karmic thinking, and I had never thought about that as what appears to go on in the head when we are sitting. And then I was ready to hear you when you said the karmic self. And I understood you be saying something which I had never really thought about or realized, is that the karmic self is the coming, and did I understand you correctly? I say this is a question, that the karmic self is the coming together of our bodies. So the fact that we have a body which has a mind which thinks that this is an aspect of karma, that all of us come together the way we are because of karma.
Well, karmic self, sometimes translated into English as conditioned self.
Yes.
And we are all conditioned as the actual person in different ways. And we cannot erase what we experienced, or our karma. So we have to learn, study, how can we use our karma to express Dharma. I think so. Our practice is not negate or fight against our karma, but kind of educate our karma in the way our karma can be helpful for the sake of Dharma, or for the sake of community or this world. So this is a kind of very interesting view, I think.
Thank you. Thank you for your teaching.
Thank you.
We have another in the house here. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is okay, I'm unmuted. Hi, my name is Ayush. Thank you so much for the talk. It was really enlightening. And I noticed that one of the books that you mentioned was the Tenzo Kyokun, and actually that was one of the few books that, one of the main book personally that got me interested in Zen Buddhism in the first place. And this is sort of like a tangential question about the Tenzo Kyokun. It's sort of related to the talk, not really. But I remember that there was this section, I'm not sure if this is the correct translation, but it was like, an instruction of the cook is to have high objects in high places, in low objects in low places. I hope that is, I'm saying that correctly. I've never really understood how it is that one determines why something is a high object in the first place, and why it cannot be that at some point in time a high object might be a low at one point, but a low might be a high. Because the way that, to me, like when I read it, it seemed fairly constant. And I was sort of like, it felt conflicting and confusing. So I'm not sure if you had any insights into that in particular.
I think that was the question Uchiyama Roshi had. Why we can decide something is in the high position and other things are lower. That was Uchiyama Roshi's question. And when he was young. But after he practiced some years, he found there is other kind of Dharma. There's something precious and important, and something, how can I say, not low or wrong, but but it was not important as Dharma. So something, we make prostration toward a Buddha statue, and yet we don't make prostration to something else. And if we do that kind of discrimination, in a sense, still, if we really, Buddha statues are really precious, and other things like a dust is not really valueless or meaningless, we are problem. That is a mistake. So we need to make a distinction, something high and something low, but we also need to be free from such a distinction. So again, there is both discrimination and beyond discrimination, and it goes like a circle. Does this make sense?
Maybe in time it will, but not particularly at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much.
I have one follow-up comment to that may be clarifying. Okumura Roshi, you may want to comment on. There's a story of the priest who burned the wooden Buddha statues in order that the monks would not freeze to death. There was a high object used for a low purpose, depending on circumstance.
That's a good example. So something high is not really high, but we, as a kind of practice, we consider that is high. Like this piece of wood, as a statue of Manjushri, we make prostration to that, but it's really a piece of wood, not different from anything else.
Over to you, John.
Hojo, as I'm looking, I don't see anyone at the moment. I will note that we're getting a little bit of noise bleeding over from the Sangha there. So maybe you could just either notice that or possibly even mute in between questions. But that your microphone is picking up and bleeding over as we're having these questions. Is there anybody online that has a question or a comment? I'm not seeing anyone. Joe, at the moment,
we
I
have
believe.
one here.
Okay.
So thank you for your teaching. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Shinjin Mike Goldman, he is volunteered to step forward in the succession plan here eventually and be responsible for a lot of what happens here. So he may be looking to your guidance in the near future.
I'm sure that I will.
Do you have a comment or question for that?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I have something if nobody else has anything. And Shohaku-sama, I think I first saw you, became aware of you in 2000 at the Dogen conference in Palo Alto. And after that, I met you, or came to Asheville where you were teaching the translations of Dogen of the Lotus Sutra. And I remember one of the poems that you quoted there was something to the effect of penetrating the essence of this sutra, even the sounds of the marketplace are expounding the Dharma. And I think that's one of the messages that you and Uchiyama Roshi, Matsuoka Roshi saying about Zen being very ordinary. So one of the answers to the question of should we sit down and shut up to not talk, I think would possibly be simply listen. Dogen in Dogen's vow says, may all beings from this life on throughout countless life, we vow to hear the true Dharma, hearing the true Dharma. So one answer is listening, I would suppose. What would you say?
Is that a question? I'm sorry. I
Maybe not.
I didn't think that was a question.
Okay, I have a question for you. Akiba Roshi was visiting one time here,
Mm?
and he gave a talk on Dogen Shinjin Datsura, dropping off body mind, that incident under Nyojo in China. And he said, I asked for a copy of his talk. He wouldn't, it had not been published, so they would not leave a copy. But he said something to the effect that when Dogen was sitting with Nyojo, and he was sitting that night next to the junior monk who was falling asleep, and Nyojo came through and hit him with the slippers on the shoulder, said something to the effect that Zazen is not sleeping, Zazen is dropping off body-mind. And that had a profound effect upon Dogen. But Akiba Roshi said that Dogen's Chinese wasn't very good, and that he had actually said something to the effect of dropping off the moon dust of body-mind, which I take to possibly be a popular saying or even a poem or a song or something in China, which apparently would not have had that kind of effect on a Chinese monk. So my question to Akiba Roshi is, how in the world do you even know that? Do you have a stash of secret documents at AAG and Sojiji that have not been revealed or translated, so we'll never know those kind of details? Where does that detail come from?
Well,
Or do you know?
that was first said in the modern Dogen scholars. Scholars are thinkers. So I don't trust scholars so much. Because the scholars said so because in the recorded things of Nyojo or Juchin, there's no such expression, body, mind drop off. But there is an expression, body dust, shinjin, not mind dust, dropped off. So that was why the scholars think Dogen misunderstood what Nyojo is saying. But I don't think that is true. Because, Dogen talked, but he also made a note. And in their conversation, Dogen also repeat what Nyojo said. So if Dogen's hearing was mistake, Nyojo could correct Dogen's mistake. So I don't think that was a possibility.
It was just curious that a Watto, a turning word, would be, in the case of Dogen, would have been some kind of mistake, that somebody would be enlightened by a misunderstanding of something that Nyojo said. Just a curiosity to me. I would hope.
Our life is continuous mistakes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Kosho, and very generous with your time. I hope your health is well. I hope your family is doing well.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Joe, we did have a hand up from Corolla, if time permits.
Are you okay with that, Shohaku-sama?
Sure.
You okay? Another question?
Sure.
One more?
Please.
One more question.
No, I have
Adrian
one.
Corolla is one of our senior female teachers here.
Thank you for your teachings, Okumura-san. I had one comment relating to the high and low places, in that Dogen says to fail to see differences is to live in ignorance, to be governed by them is to be a fool. And I think that is relative to the idea that things can be high and things can be low.
Not a question.
That is the question. Is that not relevant to the idea that something can be high some of the time and low some of the time? That there are differences, but you cannot be governed by them.
Yeah, for example, in the kitchen, there are, high and low shelves. Something smaller and lighter can go higher, and something big and heavy thing should be on the ground or lower places. So this high and low in the kitchen does not necessarily mean important and less important, or precious or less precious. So the difference and seeing the difference, and in this case, to find the best place for particular person, particular thing, is a wisdom. But if we think because of that, lighter and smaller things in the high shelves are more important or more precious than the big pot, is a mistake.
So we use different discrimination for different things. In the kitchen, we discriminate by weight.
Weight or other elements.
Yeah. There are times when firewood is more precious than a Buddha statue. So our discrimination is always determined by circumstance. Is that right?
Yes. So we need to be free from both discrimination and non-discrimination, depending upon what we are doing and what is our circumstance.
Thank you for your teaching.
Thank you.
So if that is all comments and questions, let us close with the 4 great vows. We chant them 3 times. These are numberless. I vow to freedom. Illusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end. Dominating are boundless. I vow to end them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Things are numberless. I vow to freedom. Illusions are unsensible. I vow to end them. Dominating are boundless. I vow. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow. Things are numberless. I want to free them. Illusions are inexhaustible. I want to dominate our boundless. I want to it's unsurpassable. I want to free them. Arigato gozaimasu. Kojo-sama. Arigato gozaimasu. Hope to see you again. Recording.